All right, guys. So you have your template now. I'm just going to go over again how to do your tracing because I know of you guys. Some of you guys are doing the one where it's by itself, which is fine. Um, so, as of course, you could, this is only a suggestion that I give. I prefer having less pieces to mess with, and I think when they're connected, it might be a little easier to sew. So, my preference is always to do a giant one. Um, so, sometimes I'll make a new template that I have traced again on paper or cardstock where my two curved edges meet. So then it is one giant piece. And you have a better chance at it also being the same size throughout your mask. But again, if one is slightly bigger than the other one, it happens, it's fine. Because when you do your stitching, it won't really matter too much. Okay, so if you want, you can even just trace out like I did, the really big one, and fold that in half, which makes it a little stiffer. Um, so I'll go ahead and I'll do it that way. Okay, so I just lay it down, take whatever you got. I do not suggest using a marker just because it bleeds through a lot and it'll start bleeding outwards too because this fabric will soak it up. But also remember, we are using our really big piece. This piece over here, the see-through one, is your liner and can also be used for filter pieces later on. All right, so we give it just a quick run over. Again, doesn't have to be great because you can always clean it up when you're sewing. All right. If you notice, I am still doing that one little part there and coming down, and I just prefer my edges to be done. I could leave this little excess on at the bottom because I'm going to sew over it anyway, but I tend to still go around all of mine. All right, so once I have that done, you notice this little straight edge here, that's where I'm going to meet up my other side. And so kind of eyeball it to see if that is close, which it is. Okay, so there we go, and I'm just going to come up and trace him here. All right, if you get on your paper, it doesn't really matter. Also, my desk is kind of squishy here, so it's a lot better when you have a firm tabletop to do this on. Okay, so there's that. So you would do that here, you would do it again. You'll have all this extra piece that you will be able to use for your practice stitching. And also you would do a little section for your nose piece. If you plan on actually making a nose strip pocket. So that nose strip pocket is kind of like this is the size I tend to use. I have little scrap pieces of other fabric that I cut into rectangles. So that little metal strip that you have in your pack is what goes on the nose to hold it in place. I don't like it when it is sewn inside because it tends to fold and overlap and you've got to fix it all the time unless you actually sew that into place. I like having a removable one, so I tend to leave a rectangle for that nose strip pocket. So I'll take that nose strip and I'll place it on my excess fabric, and I want to leave a little bit extra on the sides so that I can fold it and make it a clean edge and sew those later on. Okay, but about this size is what you want. Okay, about 4.5 inches. Yeah, right around 4.5, 5 inches is what I have here. Okay, so once you have that, you can put that aside. The rest you can use for your extra to learn your back stitch with. Okay, so I am going to move this because I have some that are already cut out. So once you have this done, that's one, and then you'll have another one, that's your second. So that's your front piece and your back piece. It doesn't matter which one is which because it's all the same. When you actually start drawing and stitching and everything, it doesn't matter if you can see your lines because that's going to end up being on the inside of the stitch anyway. So I'm going to take this piece, I'm just going to put it over here for now. So one of the things I do want to let you guys know is I made a little accident on that to-do list. So when it says on there for the liner to cut out 4, you're not cutting out 4. Obviously, this is smaller. You cannot cut out 4. That liner is meant to go on the back of your front piece. So you're just going to take your template and you're going to cut it out or trace it just a couple of times, just like you did your front piece. Okay, so we're going to go ahead here. Just notice you can barely see it, but I have enough to where I think I can notice it and cut it out. So again, I'm going to come over here. I like to place a pen or something just to make sure my tips are a little bit aligned. They don't have to be perfect by any means, but I definitely don't want way up here. Okay, so I just kind of put something there so I can kind of tell if my points are going to meet up a little bit and I can fix whatever later. So there, give it a quick go around. If you miss a little bit, it's okay. You know exactly how you're cutting. Straight down here, straight down here. I'm not too worried about that little itty bitty edge staying. Okay, so now you're going to take that, you're going to cut it out, and this is going to be your liner piece. All right, we are going to alter it just a little bit, just because you want it to fit nice and snug inside your mask. All right, so I like to have less hanging off everywhere, so I tend to cut out sort of the box and do the little triangle sections after. This you can just put aside. You can use this for extra practice on stitching as well. And you can cut out rectangles about this size for filters to put inside of your mask. I put filters in mine when I go out to large places that have a lot of people. So grocery stores, things like that, I tend to put filters inside my mask as well. All right, so we have that piece. Let's go ahead and cut out our triangles. Again, doesn't have to be super, super neat or anything, as long as you get that out of there. Get rid of that scrap. And now we have this one. It's just a rectangle. Now you can always fold this in half and do it down that way too. That's always an option. I like to leave my stuff open so I can see exactly what is getting cut out. All right, so now you have these. Okay, you have this one, and I think my template might even be a little bigger than my other piece I did earlier, but it's fine. So this is one of my other pieces that I have because I make like mask all the time, and I found that I like this template a lot better than my old ones. So what you're going to do before you get stitching is you are of course going to practice your back stitch. So make sure you watch that YouTube video that I gave the link for, and that teaches you your basic stitch. Also, when you are doing your basic stitch, pay attention to my first video that I showed you guys, because at the end when I do my needle, remember I double the actual thread on it so it is nice and strong versus just one thread going through. If you do that twice, it is going to make it a lot more durable, last longer, because with a sewing machine, it kind of does that for you. Okay, so when you are ready with your liner and your front piece, this is what you're going to do. You're going to take it and you're going to put it on top so it lays nice and flat. Then you're going to take it, and you see how it overdoes? It's fine. It doesn't matter. It really does not. Okay. I have done many, many paper templates, so I do have a lot of different sizes kind of roaming around everywhere. And remember, I always hear everyone, oh my gosh, this is so huge. Guys, guaranteed by the time you're done with this, it is not going to be nearly this size, okay? So don't worry. So you're going to take this right here. This is your front piece. And once that's laid, you're going to fold it in half to lay on top of each other. Okay, now here you want to make sure that your points try to meet. They can be a little off, it's fine. This is also why I like doing my templates next to each other, so it's a simple overlap right here, and it kind of helps me keep those together when I start sewing. Okay, so you have it just like that. All right, so now what you're going to do is you're going to do your stitching, and you are going to start. It really doesn't matter if you start way down here or if you start way up here. Doesn't matter at all, okay? But you do not want to sew this end. You do not want to sew this end yet, okay? Just along here. Now, I know this is connected already, but you want to go ahead and sew here as well. That way, when you open your mask, you have a nice pretty seam that connects down the center, or else it's gonna look weird. It's gonna bubble out a little bit, and you don't want that, okay? So in order to make sure that your stitch is nice and neat and you know that you're kind of at the same width all the way around, I always tend to take a pen, no markers, no Sharpies. Remember, if you use a Sharpie, the fabric will soak it up, and since we are using white fabric, you don't want it to soak up and start bleeding out this way, because then when you open it, you're going to see that black ink. Okay, so I tend to use either a pencil will work okay. If you have people that actually sew in your family, they might have a marker that is one that fades over time. It is an actual like fabric pen for marking, so it washes off, and if you don't wash it off, it does fade away after a few days. Okay, so I have those. I think they're in my car. So what I'll do is I'll use a pen, and I am just going to go about 1/4 of an inch. You can even go 1/2 an inch if you like. But you definitely do not want to go up against here. What's going to happen is some of those strings are going to start coming off, and then your thread's going to start coming out, and you're going to have to redo it. So just to make sure that I have a nice little firm bottom, I'm going to use this underneath, because again, my table is squishy. So I'm going to take my pen, and I think here is about where I want it. So I'm going to do my first mark here just so I know. And yeah, that looks like a good length that I would like to have, or a width. So this is called your seam allowance, okay? So you're gonna go in here. So if you notice, I can see through my liner where my fabric is here, and you definitely wanna make sure you're not too close there. So maybe I wanna move this a little inside. And you're not gonna be able to see any of this through the other side, okay? Again, why we don't use a marker. So you're just going to come around and you're going to do your dash line, or even just a solid line. It really doesn't matter. I just tend to do dashes because that's how big I want my stitches. I don't want my stitches long I find that they pull apart a little more if they're longer. If you ever looked at a stitch from a sewing machine, these guys are really, really small and put together nicely. That's what makes it so strong. Okay, so I never use really long stitches. So I tend to give myself an outline if I am hand stitching. Okay, so all the way down here. All right, so now I know exactly where my thread is going to go. All right, so you start your stitch way up here. I would suggest starting it right at the end right here, getting that knot going. And in order to start it off first, you do have a knot that is going to keep it in place from pulling through, but you are also going to stitch it. And I would do it, but I have my needle. I have all of those at school right now. So, but the video for the back stitching should have showed you exactly how. So you're going to go in here, and then you're going to pull through, and you're just going to pay attention. Don't poke your thumb, leave it back a little bit. I tend to sometimes hold mine like this, so my needle comes in between my fingers and my fabric's a little stiff and easier to hold on to. So you're going to go in, and then you're going to pull out way over here, and then you're going to loop around and go back, and you're going to do that in the exact same spot 3 times, so that secures it. So a sewing machine, what a sewing machine does is you start your stitch and then you put it in reverse and it sews over itself again, and then you take it out of reverse and then it sews back over again, and then you continue going. So whenever you look at your stitching on your clothes, there are parts that look like it's sewn several times. That's them locking that stitch. That's the exact same thing you are doing here by hand, by sewing over that one place 3 times. Okay, that's locking your stitch. So you're going to do that, and then you're actually going to start your stitch. So you would go down and then come up here, and you're going to have a gap. So you're going to come back and sew that gap closed, and then come from underneath and go over here. So it should look like a continuous line that is being sewn together. Okay, so if I went out here and then there, so it should look like that. So when you are done stitching, it should not, your thread should not look like that with gaps in between. Okay, it should look solid. All right, so you're going to continue that all the way down, and then when you get to your end, you're going to do the same thing you did up here, and you're going to loop it 3 times, and then I would try to make sure that I have a decent amount of thread, because I tend to take my needle and put it underneath the last thread and then kind of make a little knot with it. Okay, I really wish I had a needle here. Oh, let me see if I do. I said I have so many things in here. Ooh, I do, guys. Yay. All right, so here's my thread. Okay, and as I said before, I have it doubled because it adds extra strength. So you have pulled it through, you have done your little knot on the end, your little magic knot, which that one didn't work. All right, so you pull that through, you got your little magic knot on the end. It doesn't have to be very big. If you want to do another one, you can. All right, so as I said, you are stitching all the way through, and when you get to the end, I will do the end real quick. And that liner is a little hard to go through, which is good though, because it's really going to hold your stitch in. Okay, so if I'm coming through here at the end of my stitch, pull that nice and through. I'm coming through here again, and we're not wrapping it around the edge, because actually later when you sew, you're going to end up sewing all this together way later. Okay, so if you notice there's a little gap here, so I'm going to go back in the hole over here and I'm going to close up that gap, and this is a back stitch. So right back through the hole that I did previously, and so now they are meeting, and that is exactly what you want. Okay, so I'm going to finish this stitch off. So I'm going to come back again through that exact same part that I just came through, up, back in again in the exact same spot. So I've just stitched it twice in the same spot. I'm going to do it one more time. Got my own shadow in my way. And then a stitch. Okay, so you have that. All right, so now in order to completely finish that off, see it's nice and strong, it's nice and thick. So that's locking that off. So now I'm going to take this part, and so if you do only have a little bit left, you can still knot it off. It's just going to be a little more difficult for you, okay? But you can make a simple knot here with your 2 strands and tie it a few times to make sure it's knotted off. I like to have a little excess, so I'm going to take that and I'm going to stick it underneath the thread, and I'm going to come back and I'm going to loop it through here. Okay, and that will give me another little secure knot. And if you like, just to make sure, you can do that one more time, which I like to make sure my ends are really knotted, so there is absolutely no reason for my stuff to fall apart. All right, there you go. So that is ending my stitch. And you don't want to come too close to your knot because you don't want it to come undone, so I just leave a little bit there. And I am one of those people that don't like a lot of excess string hanging out everywhere. I just think it looks messy, so I tend to go in and I clean these up a bit. So it's only a little bit, okay? So you're gonna have that, and all your knots and stuff should be on one side. It's just, again, it looks nicer. But you're not going to see your stitch in the end anyway, okay? So you're going to go all the way, okay? If your thread is too short and you're not able to reach all the way, that's absolutely fine. Make sure you leave a little bit, finish your stitch off there, and then start right back at it where you left off and continue, all right? So now when you have the liner and everything, and I think I might have one sewn, I sort of do. So this is another one that I am working on right now. This one has it sewn all the way. If you notice, it's nice and neat because I use a sewing machine now since I already know how to do the hand sewing. But it is all the way down. So now when you have them, and I don't use liners normally because I have filters that I usually use on its own. And the cotton that I use is a little closer than the other one, so that's also why we have our liner, because it's a little thicker than that fabric. Okay, so now when you open it, you have your nice little puckered seam. Okay, so once you have this part, you can go ahead and start your drawing on your mask. So this is why I wanted you guys to at least get this part done by Friday or by Friday night at the latest, because this right here, the fact that it is connected, makes your drawing a little harder, okay, because of this little center part. These parts are going to be pretty easy, so if you have an asymmetrical one, then it's going to be a lot easier for you. But if you don't, then it's going to be harder. Those of you that are going to be putting embellishments, patches, or anything in the center, you're going to have a little hard time trying to get that on here because it's sewn together. Okay, so you might want to find something. I sometimes go back, if I'm doing some that are drawn or anything, I tend to find something like my old template or something to put in here to give me a little flatter surface to work with, and so my markers don't bleed completely through to anything underneath. They tend to not really do that too much, but I'd like to be safe rather than sorry. So I'll do that, and it helps a little bit keep this from moving around everywhere. So if you have safety pin, safety pins will work. If you have paper clips at home, or if you again are living with someone who sews, they'll have pins that you can use, and you can actually take your needle if you wanted to and poke through so that it stays in place while you are drawing and coloring your stuff on here. I do have some people that are choosing to dye their fabric before they get started. That is absolutely fine. Just remember that if you are using a dark color that you're dyeing your fabric, it's going to be a lot harder to see anything that you write on it. I have told kids that if they do want it a dark color and they want their letters to be white, iron-on might be the way to go for your letters just because of that, or taking a bleach pen, and you can even take bleach in a cotton swab, like a Q-tip, and do your lettering. You're going to have to do it quite a few times because as you start using it on darker colors, remember bleach tends to go yellow, so you might want to think about doing over it in white, maybe fabric paint. So just be aware of that. Okay, so you're going to go ahead and do your design on here. Once you have your design done, then you are going to take your mask, and if you notice on here, I have my edges sewn over, and you're going to do that next. Okay, so if you decided to have this guy and not cut him shorter, because you can cut your liner shorter. I think when I first started, I did cut mine shorter, which is okay, but you don't have to, okay? But if you choose to, I would do about 1/2 inch inside. But what you can do is take those two together, and you are going to, with your liner facing out, you're going to fold it here, okay? And you can iron that to make sure it stays if you want to, and you're going to fold it one more time, okay? And once you have that, you go ahead and pin it. I have these little clippy things. You can get them at Walmart, Amazon, and they hold your stuff into place. They also go through sewing machines. If you set your needle correctly for the correct width, it'll go right over those and you can slip them off. I'm always a nervous wreck doing that because I don't want anything to bend or break, so I always take mine off. But put something, paper clip, anything, iron it in place so it holds for you. And then you're going to do your back stitch again, and you're just going to do it all the way down. You're going to do it on this end, and you're going to do it on this end. So that way you have nice little ends to your mask. Okay, now from here, that would be my front piece because I'm actually making another mask for myself. Those that know me know I love Invader Zim, so I have my little patches that are going to be going on my different green mask. So if you do have anything you are adding on to your mask, any embellishments, you're going to want to do that before you do your final stitch together. especially if you're doing iron-ons and things like that, because once you iron it, when the glue starts getting hot, it will seep a bit through your mask, in which case your front and your back piece will start getting stuck together and you're going to have to pull it apart. Okay, so I always do my patches and all that before I put my final mask together. Okay, so you have your front piece, you'll have your back piece. I don't think I have another back piece completely sewn together yet. I really wish I did, but we'll say that this here was a back piece. Like I said, I have several. I tend to use my regular colored ones for my backs of my mask. And guys, I don't mind if you have fabric at home, you want to change the back of your mask to a different color fabric, that's up to you. I do have some individuals that have decided to decorate both white parts of their mask, the front side and the back side, so that their mask is actually reversible. They can wear it this way, or they can turn it and they can wear it this way. So that's also another option that you have, in which case you're going to want to make sure that your back piece and this front piece line up nice and neat, or else you're going to see your edges here. Okay, so I'm going to set that over here. But what you're going to do is, the rule of sewing anything like this, like mask and stuffed animals, things like that, you're not going to want to see these seams sticking out from your mask. That would just be awkward. So you want a nice little clean edge. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your front piece and you're going to take your back piece. I really wish I had one that was completed here, but I took everything to school. And you're going to take this. Let me see, is this one partly sewn? No, it's not partly sewn. Is this one partly sewn? No, that's another fabric. Let's see. Let me see. Got stuff everywhere. Aha. This one I had, did I start? No, I thought I saw something. Aha. There we go. So this one I do have, yay! So I do have a back piece. If you notice, this is what tends to start happening. It doesn't matter though, because we're going to sew it together. So, but it annoys me, so I'm going to clean it up just a little bit. Set that aside. Don't lose your needle, by the way, guys. It really sucks when you're walking on the floor and you find a needle. I've done that a couple of times, I'm not going to lie. Okay, so here's your front piece. So here is my back piece. Okay, so if you notice, you have your nice little pretty part on this side. Now the rule of thumb when making things like this, like I said, is going to be pretty side to pretty side. So that means your nice edges, not the part where you can see where you sewed, but your nice edges. They are going to lay inside of each other. Okay, so they meet up right at the peak, right here. I tend to pin mine, or with my little clippies, paper clip even again will work. Hold those two together right at that point so it won't move on you. If you do a pin, just watch out for your fingers. I tend to put one up here, and I tend to put one down below, right down here. So I do push this in to make sure it's meeting up here, because there's nothing like having your back layer all bunched up and everything, because that's gonna like suck into your mouth whenever you're talking, and it's really weird. So always make sure this is pushed in all the way and clip that side to the seam. Your seams want to meet, okay? That's important, or else it's going to fit all weird. All right, so once I have that, now I can actually do my full stitching. So you're going to do your back stitch again, and you're going to start over here, because I like to have my thread all the way. I think it's weird if it misses a spot. So I am going to start my stitch way over here, and I'm going to do my little line again when I'm hand stitching, 1/4 inch in all the way. Okay, so you're going to go ahead and you're going to sew that all the way around. Okay, all the way. And then once you have that, you will have something like this. Now remember, in mine I do not have a liner, so yours will have that little extra liner in it. All right, so it goes from here, and now you have something that looks like this. Okay, like a pocket. All right. Oh, by the way, when you sew your back piece, I forgot to mention, your back piece, you're doing the exact same way you did your front piece, except without the liner. So that curved edge, so your edges here. I tend to fold my edges for my back piece a little wider because I like them sitting inside a little bit. I don't want them showing when I'm wearing my mask. Okay, so that's why you see here that it's shorter on the edges. Okay, so now that you have this, remember you guys have a liner on this side. So you're going to take that and you are going to flip it inside out. Okay, and now once you have that flipped inside out, make sure it's nice and neat. You're going to pull, you're going to push, and make sure it lays. And so you have that guy. Now he may seem still a little awkward and misshapen. One way to fix that, if you have enough thread or if you go get more thread, it's up to you because this time your thread would show, is I tend, just to make sure everything keeps its shape, it really does help. If you do a stitching along here to hold this back piece and this front piece closer together up here, it makes it like it has a trim. And I just go from here and I go all the way about 1/8 of an inch all the way down here, and then I do the same thing here as well, and it kind of helps keep my mask in the shape I want it to. It makes it easier to store and fold and lay down. It makes it look even more finished, which is what I really like. So now you have a pocket for a filter, and then you'll do your straps. So normally you'll see your straps and they are elastic bands. Now I am not a fan of elastic bands. They hurt my ears like crazy. So the ones that we have in the packet, let me grab it real quick. All right, these are like hyperallergenic. They are made out of a stretchy material, so they are a lot more comfortable. So the thing about these is you can still wear these the exact same way as your normal mask. You don't have to tie them in back of your head. You can actually tie them and do them behind your ears. So it's a preference on how you like to wear your mask. I don't like them on my ears. They really hurt. It bothers me. I have one of those little breather cup things that go inside. They keep my fabric away from my mouth. And having the ability to tie it behind my head helps fit that more securely. And it doesn't bubble on the sides. Because remember, guys, if your mask bubbles on the side when you're wearing it, it's not being effective. It needs to lay on your face. Okay, so I find that tying it behind my head is really the best solution. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your strap, you're going to line it up on the edge, and right where it's folded in half, you're going to take that and you're going to take your scissors. If you have fabric scissors from someone who sews, that's amazing because they're a lot sharper. Other scissors will work. Again, I sew a lot, so I have all these little sewing scissors and fabric scissors around. So you have these two, okay? So what you're gonna do now, last step, is you're gonna take this guy, and again, you can clip it in. You're not gonna want just, I mean, you can hold it in. It would get a little tedious though. I tend to clip mine in so it can hold. You're gonna put that right inside where it meets your seam over here. Okay. And you are going to stitch that. So what I do is when I stitch mine, and I haven't done a knot on the end because I don't feel like it right now, but I'm gonna start with my knot here, and I'm gonna come through. So I'm not gonna pull all the way through because this mask is not ready to be done yet. So this one I'll just hold for now. So I'll go through in just a little bit, and I'm gonna come back this way. I like to try to get close or on my thread here, so it looks nice and neat and there's not this weird awkward little part on it. So there, I'm gonna come up through my strap again, okay, and you're just gonna go down again through your strap, and you're gonna do that a few times. Remember, on yours you do want this end with a knot on it, and you're gonna do that a few times, and just like we did before when we ended our stitch, going through underneath the thread and making a knot, you're gonna do that again with your strap, okay? You're gonna do it there, so it's connected here, and this end you're gonna take and you're gonna do it on this end. It doesn't matter if this is twisted or anything like that, because what you're actually going to end up doing, and I'm just going to clip it into place right now so I can show you, is you are going to have your straps connected here, okay, and they're going to be really long right now, obviously, okay? So you're going to take this guy and you're going to get him to where he's bent in half again, fold it in half, and you're going to take that and you're going to cut it again. All right, so now you'll have two on this side, and then once you finish this one, you'll have two on that side. So you can leave them like that and just tie them, but you guys also have little plastic circles inside your packet, and with those, I was trying to get them on there, and then I messaged my friend who actually does mask making, and this is the one that actually gave us the packets, and I was like, I cannot get these things in, and it's actually really easy. She let me know exactly how she did it. So what she does is she takes a paper clip and she folds it or opens it up to where it's in half, so you still have a hook, and she puts it inside the actual band, because if you notice and you squeeze it, it has a little opening like a shoelace, and she'll slide it in there and fold the paper clip a bit, and stick it through the little plastic end with the holes and pull through, and it pulls your fabric through your little plastic guy. So I'll make another video showing that after this, but that's how you get those through there if you want to use those. And they're really nice because they just slide up and down your fabric straps for adjustments, whether it's behind your ear or in the back. So that's nice and handy, versus trying to tie it all the time. You can easily just uncinch it and pull it off. Okay, so, but once you have that, guys, you're done. All right, if you want to do, if you want to iron it afterwards, I would always place maybe one of your scrap pieces or a t-shirt or something like that over it. Just a preference again on me. I don't like going straight to the iron with it. I mean, I will, but with your fabric markers and stuff, I don't think I would do that. I would put something over it. So make sure you are reading the instructions to your fabric markers, guys, because a lot of them will say on there, once you have put your design on your mask or on your fabric, let it sit for 24 hours before you wash it. Okay, that way the fabric marker has time to set. If you are still worrying about it fading or anything, you can do fabric paint over it. I would put cardboard or something on the inside so it doesn't seep all the way through and you're breathing that. And you can also, if you're doing embroidery, remember, I would do it before these two pieces are together. Embroidering is really easy. You would draw your design and you would use a back stitch to fill it in. You use the thicker thread, the embroidery thread, not regular thread. That would take you forever. Okay, but those are always options you can add on later to your design. Okay, so there you guys have it. I will do another tutorial adding the nose pocket, because if you notice this one doesn't have the nose pocket on it. I'll do another tutorial adding the nose pocket. But what you guys can do, if you are planning to add that nose pocket, what you can do is go ahead, get your front piece finished and get your back piece sewn together on your curve and on your edges, because we add your nose pocket before your front and your back pieces go together like this. Okay, so I hope you guys liked this project. I hope it taught you a lot. Believe me, you'll be able to fix most things now. And if you enjoyed it, guys, just wait, especially if you're a Theater 1. After COVID and everything is all done with and we're allowed to use and break out the sewing machines again, and you want to focus on costuming, there will be a lot more sewing to do. Actually, little mini costumes that you'll practice with, and hopefully by year 3, making a full costume for someone to wear. All right, so there you go, guys. I really hope you enjoyed this project. I can't wait to see your final products and see you wearing them around everywhere. Please don't forget to take pictures throughout your process. Just like this, you can put your phone or tablet or something, you can stack cans and put it on top, or books, and video yourself doing a bit of the work so we have some behind the scenes, especially for my class. You guys remember are creating a little iMovie of your work that's going into this, so we can show everyone the amazing work that you guys did, and show the company that gave us our packets how well you guys did with this. They're gonna love it, okay, because they're costumers, so they love doing this type of stuff. All right, guys, I'll see you guys later.